Welcome back, friends. In the earlier video we discussed about the various emergencies, the three types of emergencies: the national emergency, next the president rule, and the financial emergency. Okay, in this video today we will be discussing about parliament. It is one of the lengthiest chapter and one of the most important chapter. Go and check your previous year questions. Not even a single paper without at least 2 to 4 questions only from this chapter, my dear friends. 2 to 4 questions minimum comes from this chapter. So 4 matlab 8 marks. Cutoff of prelims hovering around 100 marks. If you are thorough with this chapter, that is 8 marks. 8% of your prelims preparation is finished. Okay, so that's the reason. Please always, you should have very much great command on this entire chapter. Okay, this having command on this entire chapter is very much relevant for your prelims and mains also. Okay, so coming to this, we'll be discussing this parliament chapter in this lecture. First, before starting this chapter, what constitutes parliament? What constitutes parliament? Many people will be saying, sir, what a lame question you are asking. We are preparing for UPSC, sir. We know parliament consists of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Does parliament consist of only Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? Parliament, or does it consist of any other thing? Many people thinks parliament is just Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. No, sir. Parliament is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the president. Okay, this entire three institutions will be known as parliament, because any law passed by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will not become into law. They will be bills. When president signs them, then they become bill. So parliament, what is parliament? It consists of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and president. Yes. Now coming to what is the composition of parliament? Yes, sir. What is the composition? First, beginning with Lok Sabha. Yes, sir. What is the total strength of Lok Sabha? 552 seats. 552 seats is the maximum strength of Lok Sabha. Okay. Out of these 552 seats, currently we filled only 545 seats. Thus is 7 seats are vacant. Sir, imagine only 7 seats are vacant. What becomes the effective strength of Lok Sabha? 552 minus 7. This 545 is the effective strength of the Lok Sabha. Okay. And out of these 545 seats, okay, currently 543, out of this total we have 552 seats, sir, in Lok Sabha. Out of these 552 seats, 7 seats are lying vacant. So every year currently we are filling 542 seats, and out of these 545 seats, 543 seats were filled by this one, states and union territories. Okay, and these 2 will be filled by nominated members by president. Who are these nominated members, sir? President will nominate 2 Anglo-Indians. However, in the recent amendment which we have made, 104th Amendment Act, okay, which continued the reservation for SCs, STs, and it deals with the earlier amendments, extended this provision till 2020. The reservation for Anglo-Indians shall be provided till 2020. However, recently 104th Amendment Act discontinued this nomination of these 2 members, and our existing Lok Sabha also doesn't have any nomination of these Anglo-Indians. This is the composition of the Lok Sabha. Okay, total 552. Out of 552, 7 seats were left vacant. Then there are 545 seats left. Out of these 543, seats were shared between states and union territories, and 2 will be left for the nomination of the Anglo-Indians by president. Now coming to Rajya Sabha. Yes, sir. What is the composition of Rajya Sabha, sir? Total there are 250 seats maximum. 250 seats maximum. Out of these 250 seats, how many we are filling? Currently we are filling only 245 seats. Okay, here also 5 seats were left vacant. Okay, Lok Sabha total 552. Out of 552, 7 seats were left vacant. We filled only 545. Same with like this Rajya Sabha. Total we have 250 seats. Out of these 250 seats, 245 seats were filled. And these 245 seats, 225 seats were reserved for states, 8 seats were reserved for UT, and 12 seats are left for nomination. Nomination post, nominated seats. Who nominates? President. What are the grounds of nomination, sir, for Rajya Sabha? What are the grounds of nomination for Rajya Sabha? Literature, art. Lastly, these are the grounds for nomination. Literature, art, this one, social service and sciences. These are just indicative, okay? Sometimes people, this one, sometimes we elect the sports personalities and all these things. These are just indicative which were given, okay? That is literature, art, social service and sciences. But whereas when we represent, when we nominate members in most of the, this one, you know, state legislative councils, state legislative councils, okay? The state legislative councils, also this, and we have the power, governor have the power to nominate them. Yes, who are the members, on what grounds you can nominate governor? Literature, art, social sciences, social service, science and cooperatives. Okay, the cooperatives ground is for election of this one, nomination of members for state legislative assemblies, but not here. Okay, for Rajya Sabha it is just literature, art, social service and sciences. People, if you have, sir, we are, it is difficult to remember. Remember Lassi. Okay, hope everyone knows Lassi. Literature, art, social service and sciences. Sir, which UTs have representation in Rajya Sabha? On the other day when we were discussing schedules, we discussed. Yes, Delhi have 3 members, J&K have 4, okay, and Puducherry have 1 member representation in Rajya Sabha. 3 plus 4, 7 plus 1, 8. This is the representation. This was the composition of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. How they are represented, sir? How they are elected, represented or elected? In Lok Sabha, it is by direct election. Direct election. We elect our MPs. Okay. Whereas Rajya Sabha, what, people elect MPs? Okay. But whereas Rajya Sabha, people elect MLAs. Okay. MLAs of your state. All these MLAs will choose the Rajya Sabha MPs. That's the reason this is known as indirect election. Okay, whereas for Lok Sabha we choose our members by direct election, whereas for Rajya Sabha we choose this one, members by indirect election. Okay, and please remember one thing, in Rajya Sabha, whereas in India we doesn't have equal representation. Very basic thing. In India we doesn't have equal representation for all states. It varies according to state. But whereas in US there is equal representation. In US, whereas in US all states have equal representation. That is 50 states, 50 into 2, only 100 members. But whereas in India we doesn't have equal representation for members. Okay, next. After this representation, what is the duration? What is the duration of Lok Sabha and what is the duration of Rajya Sabha? Also, what is the normal term? Normal term is 5 years for Lok Sabha. Okay. However, president can dissolve it. Sorry, president can dissolve before 5 years. Can dissolve before the term of 5 years. Okay. And earlier we are discussing this one, national emergency. During the times of emergency, we can extend the tenure by 1 year at a time. Extend by 1 year at a time. Yes, sir. What is the duration of Rajya Sabha, sir? How many years? It gets dissolved? No, it is a permanent body. It doesn't get dissolved. Okay, it is a permanent body. Okay, only one-third members of Rajya Sabha, one-third members of Rajya Sabha retire every 2 years. Retire every 2 years. Sir, remember our constitution. Please remember with regards to Rajya Sabha, our constitution hasn't fixed the term for Rajya Sabha. Hasn't fixed the term of members. Term or term. What should be the term of members? Constitution hasn't fixed the term of members of Rajya Sabha. Okay, it has left, our constitution has left it to parliament. Okay, so parliament through Representation of People Act 1951, in Representation of People Act 1951, they said that the tenure for the members of Rajya Sabha shall be 6 years. 6 years. In the same way, this one, our constitution hasn't talked about what should be the way for representation in UTs. Representation for union territories. Okay, it hasn't talked whether the members from the UT should be given representation in these our constitution was silent. It empowered, in fact it empowered parliament to take decision. Okay, what should be the manner for choosing representatives of UTs matlab union territories, for a manner for guys, excuse. I'm extremely sorry. Okay, 1 second. Let me have some water. Yes, we are talking about representation for UTs. Our constitution hasn't decided what should be the manner for to ensure the representation for members in UTs. Okay, it left that matter to parliament. Okay, so parliament prescribed the manner, prescribed manner for choosing representatives for union territories. Okay, where through direct elections for House of People Union Territories Act 1956. Clear? Our constitution was silent on what kind of manner, what should be the how the representatives of UTs should be given in Lok Sabha. Okay, so it was decided by parliament through direct elections for House of People's Union Territories Act 1956, where they said the direct election. I was discussing this in the context of this. Okay, our constitution hasn't fixed the term of MPs of Rajya Sabha. This was also left to parliament. So later parliament enacted Representation of People's Act 1951, where they said the tenure of the members of Rajya Sabha shall be 6 years. So let me discuss one thing here about Delimitation Commission. What is this, sir? For Lok Sabha, what? People directly elect members. Directly elect. Okay. So what? Suppose, imagine this is India. Okay. In India, all the seats are divided. In this is, we call it as constituency. We call this as constituencies. Okay. One MP will be representing the one constituencies. So who will be dividing these constituencies? This constituencies division and marking of constituencies will be done by the Delimitation Commission. Okay, so we set up this Delimitation Commission. Generally, according to our constitution, we should set up Delimitation Commission every 10 years. Every 10 years. However, we have set up so far only 5 Delimitation Commissions: 1952, 1962, 1972, and 2002. Why, sir? We have freezed this process because if you might be aware, after the post-independence India in 1972, we gave a huge thrust on population policies. that is family planning. Okay, so suppose imagine if delimitation commission says for every 1,000 people there will be one representative, for every 1,000 people there will be one MP. Okay, this is, imagine this is state A and this is state B. Okay, so the state B is implementing this family planning policies in letter and spirit. So what happens, the growth rate of this state after 10 years, the population here will be 1100, but the state hasn't taken the population policy very seriously, so after some time there will be 1300. So since the population is more, so what happens here, these people, the people of state A will be having the more representatives in parliament, whereas state B will be having the less number of representatives. That's the reason we froze, we have frozen delimitation of constituencies. We have frozen delimitation of constituencies till 2026. Okay, the 87th Amendment Act 2003 says we have frozen this till 2026. See, this is technically till 2031. Why? It says that 87th Amendment Act 2003 says that after 2026 elections, if we conduct any elections, we will be taking the first census. We will be taking the first census based on the first census after 2026. When the first census after 2026 will happen, sir? 2031. Although this frozen, this limitation upon this delimitation of constituencies, it looks till 2026, but technically it says after the first census after 2026 till 2031 we have frozen these seats. Okay. Next, one more thing, important thing we need to discuss is reservation of seats for SCs and STs. Okay, so there is we reserve seats for SCs and STs based on 95th Amendment Act. Okay, some seats are reserved for SCs and STs on based on we have been keep on extending this. So 95th Amendment Act extended this one till 2020. However, this got expired. So recently we came up with 104th Amendment Act. Okay, which further extended the representation for SCs and STs till 2030. Okay, fine, sir. Good. Now let's discuss what is the criteria for membership of parliament. Membership for parliament. Okay, let's discuss under this membership for parliament. Let's discuss what are the qualification criteria. Okay, and what are the disqualification criteria if you want to become a member of parliament. What are the qualifications, sir? What are the qualification criteria to become an MP? First, one should be a citizen of India, the basic prerequisite. Okay, and next, must take oath before contesting elections. Must take oath before contesting elections. Yes, sir. On the other day we discussed schedules. Okay, oaths are present in which schedule? Either second or third schedule. Second schedule deals with oath and third schedule deals with salaries. No, sir, wrong answer. Second schedule deals with salaries and third schedule deal with oath. On the other day also I said, I'm aware of it, just to confuse you. Most of the people always confuse with the schedules, whether second one deals with salaries and or the third one. Okay, always remember our MPs are corrupt, so they just imagine, make a funny imagination. They are saying, our MPs are saying, first you give salaries, then only we will take the oath. Okay, that's the reason second schedule deals with salaries and the third schedule deals with oath. Okay, next. They'll be taking the oath, we will be protecting the sovereignty and integrity of the India, we will faith and allegiance to the constitution and all these things. Okay, and they should have minimum 30 years to contest for Rajya Sabha MP and 25 years to contest for Lok Sabha MP. Okay, and our constitution also says further, other than this, other qualifications mandated by parliament. So parliament can further, if it want to make any qualifications, it can make further, it can make any other qualifications for the MPs, like through a representation of People's Act and all these things. What are the basic qualifications which were mentioned in our constitution, sir? First, the MP should be citizen of India and he must take oath before contesting the election. Okay, next, if he is contesting for Rajya Sabha, he should be having minimum 30 years of age, and if he is contesting for Lok Sabha, he should be having minimum 25 years. Okay, and other qualifications as mandated by parliament. Now, what are the grounds of disqualification? Grounds of disqualification for an MP. So these grounds are these grounds of disqualification was given by our constitution. There are some grounds prescribed by our constitution. There are some grounds of disqualification prescribed by parliament. Okay, parliament, that is through Representations of People Act 1951, and there are some other grounds which are mentioned in the 10th schedule. 10th schedule deals with which amendments, sir? 52nd Amendment Act, Anti-Defection Law. Let's see what are the various grounds according to our constitution, according to Representations of People's Act, and according to the 10th schedule. What are the grounds for disqualification according to parliament, sir? Sorry, first let's discuss according to constitution. First, an MP shouldn't hold any office of profit. Shouldn't hold any office of profit other than this. Okay, so what constitutes office on profit? It will be defined in the Parliament Act, Office of Profit Act. Okay, next, he should not possess any unsound mind. Okay, he should not possess any unsound mind. So who will be declared whether an MP is having a sound mind or unsound mind? It is declared by court. Okay, and now he should not have been acquired citizenship by any. He shouldn't have acquired acquired citizenship by fraud and all these things. Or he should only possess single citizenship. He should not possess the citizenship of the any other country also. Guys, let's quick recall citizenship. What are the grounds of acquisition of citizenship and termination of citizenship? Okay, on the other day we discussed what are the grounds of acquisition of citizenship. The mnemonic I gave is Bindra. Okay, what are this one for the loss of citizenship? RTD. People who are not aware of this mnemonics, please watch the earlier videos where I discussed about the citizenship. So disqualification according to the constitution, he should not hold any office of profit, he should not be unsound mind or undischarged insolvent, he should not be bankrupt. Okay, undischarged insolvent, unsound mind, and he shouldn't have acquired citizenship by fraud, or he should not be disqualified by any law made by parliament. So what are the laws made by parliament with regards to disqualification, sir? First, let's see RPA Act 1951, Representations of People Act 1951. What are the grounds of disqualification under this? He shouldn't be found guilty of any election offences. Or any like bribing voters, giving money, any election offences or corrupt practices. Next, they should not be convicted for any offence, not convicted for any offence which has the imprisonment more than having imprisonment more than 2 years. Having imprisonment more than 2 years. More than 2 years. Okay, or and other things which were given by this is he should not be a director of company. He should not be a director of company. Where government ownership is more than 25%. Where government ownership is more than 25%. Okay, and he should, if he is a government servant, he should not be dismissed on the grounds of not dismissed. If he is a government servant, suppose if you are an IAS officer, if you got dismissed on grounds on charges of corruption, showing disloyalty to the constitution, charges of corruption, disloyalty to the constitution, to state, constitution, and all these things. Suppose a person dismissed from government services on charges of corruption, disloyalty to state, and all these things, he also can't contest the election. Okay, or if you were convicted, if you have been punished for on the crimes, if you have been punished for crimes like promoting untouchability, dowry, sati, and all these things, if you have done this also, you can't contest for elections. And most importantly, if you fail to submit your election expenses, okay, all these are the grounds which are mentioned under Representations of People's Act. Let's have a quick look. Many grounds: you should not be found guilty of any election offences, not convicted for any offence having imprisonment more than 2 years. Okay, you should not be the director of company where ownership of government is more than 25%. Dismissed, if you are dismissed from government services on the charges of corruption, disloyalty to state, and all these things. Next, he should not be punished for promoting untouchability, dowry, sati, and you should not fail to submit election expenses. These are under Representations of People Act. Okay, and there are other grounds for defection. There are other grounds for disqualification under anti-defection law. Which schedules are under 10th schedule? What are the various grounds, sir? You need to quickly recall. Anti-defection law. You should not be disqualified by anti-defection law. What are the conditions? Are on the other day I discussed when I was discussing 10th schedule. You should not be giving your membership voluntary resignation for your party, or you should not abstain or go against the whip given by your party. Whip matlab the direction. Whip given by your party, you should follow the whip. If you are an independent member, you shouldn't join any political party. And next, if you are a nominated member, you should only join any political party within 6 months. If you violate any of this, you will be disqualified. Who will be taking the decision of disqualification under anti-defection law, sir? Who will be taking the decision? Speaker. Speaker will be taking the decision. This is with regards to the disqualification. Okay, on what we discussed, the grounds of qualification and the grounds of disqualification of members. Okay, disqualification of members. Further, we discussed disqualification grounds by constitution, by given by RPA Act, and by the anti-defection law. Okay, now let's discuss about vacancy in seats. Okay, vacancy in the seats of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Vacancy can be arisen. The vacancy in the seats can be on various grounds. What can be the grounds, sir? First is if you are having double membership. Sir, please remember, earlier thing we have discussed disqualification. Okay, so in vacancy we have disqualification can be one form. The vacancy in the seats can be arised. One is due to double membership. What is double membership? I will be discussing through disqualification. or by resignation, or if you were absent without taking the permission of parliament for many days, or next, other causes like if you are expelled by the house or if you are elected to the office of president and all these things. Let's discuss what are these. First, double membership. Important, sir, questions comes from this double membership and all these things. Okay, so this double membership, these conditions were given by RPA Act 1951, the clear provisions. Okay, so suppose first case, you got elected to Lok Sabha. Suppose imagine the elections were being contested, the elections for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are taking place. Okay, so you got elected, you simultaneously contested for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and you got elected for the both houses. Okay, so what happens? You got the elections notification for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha elections were notified, and you contested for these both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. You got elected. Okay, so you should communicate within 10 days. You should intimate to the presiding officer in 10 days to which house you will be. If you haven't intimated if you haven't communicated, if you haven't conveyed your decision within 10 days, your seat in Rajya Sabha gets vacant. Okay, what is this case, sir? If you are contesting for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha at once, the elections for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are taking place at once, so you contested for both these things, you won from both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So then within 10 days you need to convey to the presiding officer that you want which house you will choose. You can't be an MP of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. You need to only choose one house. If you fail to choose any house, then your Rajya Sabha seats become vacant. Okay. Next one. Next case. You are already a sitting member of one house. Okay. This one house can be Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Okay. But you contested again. You contested and got elected to the other house. Okay, here also you need to immediately within 10 days you need to communicate. If you fail to communicate, your seat in first house becomes vacant. What is this, sir? Suppose imagine already you are a member of Lok Sabha and you contested for Rajya Sabha seat. You need to communicate to the presiding officer which house you will choose. If you fail to choose any house, your seat in the first house becomes vacant. Clear? Or imagine, sir, you elected for 2 seats in a single house. Elected for 2 seats suppose consider the case of Rahul Gandhi. He contested from both Amethi and Wayanad. Although he lost one seat, Amethi. Okay, suppose if he have won from Amethi and Wayanad, he need to communicate to the house within 10 days whether he wants this Amethi seat or Wayanad seat. If he fails to convey to a presiding officer, then these both seats become vacant. If he fail to convey, then both seats become vacant. This is the third case. And there is other case also. Fourth case. Suppose you are contested for Parliament and State Legislative Assembly at once. Parliament and State Legislative Assembly, you got elected. You contested for Parliament and State Legislative Assembly. Okay, you need to resign for any seat within 14 days. You need to resign for any seat within 14 days. Else, your seat in Parliament becomes vacant. Else, Parliament seats become vacant. Okay, we discussed 4 cases, sir. Let's make it clear once again. We discussed this one. That is first case, you elected for both houses. Okay, you need to communicate within 10 days, else your seat in Rajya Sabha becomes vacant. Okay, so you are already a sitting member of one house, you contested for the other house, you need to communicate early within 10 days, else your seat in the first house, sitting house, becomes vacant. Next, elected, if you elected for two seats in a single house, with you need to communicate which seat you want to hold, else the both seats becomes vacant. Okay, and you contested for parliament and state legislative assembly, you need to resign for any one of the seat within 14 days. If you fail to resign, your parliament seat becomes vacant. This is with regards to double membership. Okay, next one, we are discussing the grounds of vacancy. Okay, double membership, other one is disqualification, resignation, absence, and other grounds. Disqualification we discussed in length. One second. Yes sir, what are the grounds of disqualification? We discussed in length. Some grounds provided in Constitution, some grounds provided in Representations of People Act 1951, and some grounds provided in Anti-Defection Law in 10th Schedule. Okay, these are the grounds of disqualification which we discussed. Okay, next one, resignation. Resignation, general sir, you need to convey, you need to give your resignation to the presiding officer of the house. Presiding officer of house. Okay, what is an other ground of vacancy other than after this double membership, disqualification and resignation? Other one is due to absence. Absence. Okay, what is the ground for absence, sir? That is consecutively absent for more than 60 days. Consecutively absent for more than 60 days. Okay, if you are consecutively absent for more than 16 days without taking the permission from the presiding officer, then your seat becomes vacant. However, if the house is prorogued, I'll be discussing what does prorogation and urgent. If the house is urgent consecutively for 4 days, okay, consecutively for 4 days, then this 4 days period will not be counted. It will not be accounted. Okay, so you should not absent for house for more than 60 days, and if the house is urgent consecutively for 4 days, it will not be counted. Okay, if you want, you can take absence with the permission of the presiding officer. Like school, we will be writing leave letter to our class teacher. Okay, same, if you want to get absent for, you can't attend this one, you need to write to the presiding officer and take the permission. And next, other cases. Other cases, what are the other cases, sir? Suppose you got expelled by house, house also has the permission to expel you. Okay, or you got elected to office of president, vice president, you got elected to office of president, vice president, or governor. These are the various grounds for the disqualification. Next one, oath or affirmation. Yes sir, where these are mentioned, oath or affirmation in the 3rd schedule. Okay, once you got elected, you need to take the oath. Okay, take oath, you will be saying to bear true faith and allegiance to Constitution of India, uphold sovereignty and integrity of India, and faithfully discharge your duties. This is the oath you will be taking. Okay, if you sit in the parliament sittings without taking the oath, so every day you will be fined 500 rupees per sitting. Okay, you need to take oath and you need to take part in proceedings. If you haven't taken oath and you take place, if you sit and if you take part in voting process, then you need to pay 500 rupees as a penalty. And if you doesn't take oath, the parliamentary privileges like immunities with regards to arrest and all these things, they will not apply. Okay, parliamentary privileges will start to apply once you take oath only. Okay, next, coming to presiding officers of parliament. Yes, sir. First, coming to Lok Sabha. Sir, please remember, we will be discussing what will be the this one presiding officer, the election, and all these things with regards to Lok Sabha, and largely the same procedure for Rajya Sabha also. Okay, if there are any difference, I'll explain them. First, elected. Okay, the speaker. Okay, what is this one? We all know these terms. The presiding officer of Lok Sabha is known as speaker and deputy speaker. Okay, the speaker is elected from among the MPs. Okay, so this date of election for speaker will be fixed by president. Okay, date of election for speaker will be fixed by president. And please remain till what time he will be the speaker will be in the office, sir? He will remain in office. Speaker will remain in office till the life of Lok Sabha. That is duration of Lok Sabha. If Lok Sabha gets dissolved, the post of speaker also get dissolved. However, please remember, speaker doesn't vacate office immediately. Speaker doesn't vacate his office when Lok Sabha is dissolved. He continues in office till new Lok Sabha meets. Okay, suppose imagine May 1st the earlier Lok Sabha got dissolved and the elections being held, and the other Lok Sabha meets on May 26th. Okay, till May 26th, before the other Lok Sabha meets, speaker will be in his position. Okay, please remember this point. Okay, what is the process of removal? How he vacates his office, sir? What are the grounds for vacancy in his office? First, if he ceases to be the member of Lok Sabha, Next, he resigns. To whom he submits his resignation, sir? He resigns by writing to deputy speaker. Or removed by passing resolution. Okay, what is the process for passing this resolution, sir? First, the speaker should be given the 14 days notice about moving this. Next, this resolution should be introduced with the support of at least 50 members. It requires the support of at least 50 members. Okay, when his resolution for his removal is in under process, he can't preside the house. When this process is in process, removal process is in process, he can't preside the house, and he doesn't have the power of casting vote. What is this casting vote, sir? Suppose 50, the total strength of the house is 50. So 25 people said a decision should be taken, the majority is divided 25-25, that is draw, then speaker can cast his vote at this time. Okay, so that is he can't cast the vote in the first instance when he is a speaker. Okay, when he is a speaker, he has only the power to as a casting vote. Casting vote matlab when the decision is tied, then only he can vote. Okay, so this casting vote power will not be there. He can vote in first instance, thus is he will not be having this power. He can vote before this only. Okay, casting vote, clear? Okay, next, what are the roles, powers and functions? By the way, what are the sources of power? Sources of power, from where he takes his powers. Okay, so speaker gets his powers in constitution, from constitution. Next, rules of procedure, and conduct of Lok Sabha business, rules and conduct of business of Lok Sabha. And next thing is by the parliamentary presidents or conventions. Parliamentary presidents or conventions. Okay, what are the important powers of him, sir? He is the final interpreter of constitution. Final interpreter of constitution, rules of procedure, within the house. His interpretation is final within the house, in the house which he is presiding. Next, he has the power to adjourn and suspend the house. And if no quorum. What is quorum, sir? Minimum strength. What is the minimum strength? 10%. Out of 545 MPs, what is the quorum? That is 55 MPs. If 55 MPs, if suppose tomorrow we are holding any session, okay, due to corona lockdown, if only 30 MPs are attended, then speaker has the power to adjourn or suspend, because at least minimum quorum should be maintained. Okay, next, quorum, or it is also known as quorum, minimum strength. Okay, and he has the power of, important power, casting vote. Sir, casting vote, I guess clear or not? See, suppose, imagine we are taking in parliament, we are taking a decision whether to extend lockdown or not. Okay, total the strength of the house is 100 members were present. Okay, so what, suppose if 51 members says yes, you can extend the lockdown, and 49 members says yes, don't extend the lockdown. So 51 members are saying extend the lockdown, so this gets passed and the lockdown gets extended. Okay, so the people who are voting here, this is known as voting in first instance. This is first instance. Okay, so when any resolution is moved, speaker doesn't has the right to vote in the first instance. When speaker can vote, this is only he has the power of casting vote. What is this casting vote? When there is no clear majority, when the decision is tight. Okay, suppose 50-50, there is what decision you will be taking, then only now the speaker has the power to vote, that is casting votes when there is a tie. Now if the speaker votes here to extend lockdown, it will be extended. If the speaker says don't extend lockdown, this is so. Speaker doesn't, when he is presiding the house, he doesn't has the power to vote in first instance. He has the power to vote during the casting vote, when the decision is tied. Next one, he presides the joint sitting of two houses of parliament. Please remember, only a speaker has the right to speaker will be presiding the joint sitting of two houses of parliament, whereas this one, chairman of Rajya Sabha, doesn't have power to preside over joint sitting. Okay, which article talks about joint sitting, sir? 108. From which constitution we borrowed joint sitting? Write in comments. Which country? Okay, and the other important thing is he takes the decision on money bill. Whether this bill is money bill or not, it is certified by the speaker. Okay, and we discussed anti-defection law. Okay, the decision on this disqualification under anti-defection law will be taken by the speaker. Okay, next he acts as the chairman of business advisory committee, the various parliamentary committees, business advisory committee, rules committee, and the general purpose committee. General purpose committee. Okay, next he appoints chairpersons for other parliamentary committees. Okay, these are with regards to the powers of speaker. Let's now discuss about deputy speaker of Lok Sabha. Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. He is also elected from Lok Sabha. Okay, the date of election for deputy speaker will be fixed by speaker, whereas date of election of speaker is fixed by president, but date of election for deputy speaker will be fixed by the speaker. What he does, sir, when speaker is absent, okay, or when speaker's post is vacant, okay, he discharges the functions of speaker. He discharges the function of speaker. Please remember, deputy speaker is not any post like an subordinate post. The post of deputy speaker is not subordinate to post of speaker. Okay, why? Because he is also presiding the house. He is also discharging all the functions of the speaker. When speaker is absent or vacant, he is discharging all the functions of the speaker. He is presiding the house. That's the reason he is not considered as a subordinate to speaker, because he is also directly responsible to the house. Okay, from 11th Lok Sabha, we developed a convention. Parliamentary convention was developed, where now the deputy speaker post is given to opposition party. Deputy speaker post is given to opposition party. Convention. Okay, convention matlab just a tradition. Opposition party. Sir, what happens suppose when speaker is presiding the house? When speaker is presiding, he sits as a normal member. When speaker is presiding the house, he sits as a normal member. Clear? This is with regards to the deputy speaker of Lok Sabha. Sir, you may get one doubt. Sir, good. If speaker is absent, okay, we have deputy speaker post. Sir, imagine, suppose there comes a condition, speaker is in foreign tour. Okay, deputy speaker got fever. Then who will preside the house, sir? Then who will preside? To ensure this, when these two persons are absent, okay, so for this we elect a panel of chairpersons. Sorry, we choose panel of chairpersons. These are not elected, these are nominated by speaker. Okay, speaker nominates 10 members from the house, okay, and this as the panel of chairpersons. Okay, so when speaker, remember these are important, okay, when speaker or deputy speaker is absent, when they are absent, any of these 10 members can preside the house. Any of these 10 members can preside house. Sir, you may be saying, sir, imagine a case, there comes a case, no, speaker is absent, deputy speaker is absent, all these 10 members were also absent. If these members were also absent, then house chooses. House, okay, the Lok Sabha chooses anyone, house chooses. Speaker, deputy speaker, okay, and panel of chairpersons. Now the doubt is, sir, if all these people were absent, okay, all speaker, deputy speaker, panel of chairpersons were absent, then person determined by house act as speaker. Sir, remember one important thing. When the positions of speaker and deputy speaker is absent, then the panel, any one of the panel of among any one of these 10 members of this panel of chairpersons can lead the house, can preside the house. But in case the positions of speaker and deputy speaker is vacant, hope you know the difference between vacant and absent, okay, if the positions of speaker and deputy speaker is absent, any person chosen by any any person chosen by, not any member of house, okay, any person, maybe some students will be saying, sir, any outside person, no, any member of the house chosen by president will lead the house. Hope this is clear now. Once again, let's do one thing, okay, sir, speaker, once again, okay, suppose speaker is in foreign, he is absent or vacant, his speaker position is absent or vacant, then deputy speaker can preside the house. Sir, imagine these both are absent, okay, then any of the 10 panel of chairpersons, okay, this panel of chairpersons are nominated by speaker. If these both people were absent, then anyone from this panel of chairperson can preside the house, okay. But imagine, and if these people are also absent, any person chosen by the house, any member of the house chosen by the house, okay, any MP chosen by the house. If these positions are vacant, the post of speaker and deputy speaker, both positions are vacant, then these 10% can't preside the house, sir. Then the person, any member of house chosen by president, member of house chosen by president will lead the house. Member of member of the house chosen by president will lead the house. This is with regards to the presiding officer with regards to Lok Sabha. Okay. In the next video, we will start our discussion with the presiding officer of Rajya Sabha, and then we will be discussing other important provisions of Parliament. Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.